This monster is based on a theater so shocking that people would faint every show. Grand Guignol the Dust Dragon is the Thespian boss monster inspired by the real-life Grand Guignol, a French theater known for its plays featuring body horror and grotesque yet erotic performances. If you recall, Grand Guignol the Dust Dragon, the Yu-Gi-Oh monster, is meant to represent the rebirth of theater through the fusion of Quem and Quertus. So how does the corrupt union between church and theater end up being named after the theater equivalent of torture porn? Well, let's find out. Hidden amongst the decadence and sleaze of the Parisian district of Pigalle, in the shadows of a quiet, cobbled alleyway stood a little theater. Eager spectators take up their seats amidst an eerie atmosphere. At last the curtain rises. But this is no ordinary theater. This is the Théâtre du Grand Guignol. The Grand Guignol Theater specialized in short plays that delved into the darkest realms of human nature, exploring themes of horror, violence, and psychological torment. Attendees were subjected to a sensory assault of grotesque and nightmarish scenarios, exploring the depths to which individuals could descend. A prostitute trapped in a bedroom with a psychopathic killer. A man embracing his daughter before blowing out her brains. A woman being skinned alive while another watches in sexual ecstasy. Captivated spectators would feel lightheaded, outraged, and yet guiltily stimulated by the morally dubious mixture of the horrific and erotic displays unfolding before their eyes. Rumors would attract audiences from around the world, eager to witness for themselves the Grand Guignol's latest blood-soaked spectacles, realistic special effects, and actors screaming bloody murder, literally. So why did the designers at Konami decide to name the climax to the Thespian archetype after this splatterfest of a theater? If I were to guess, it's because the Grand Guignol represented everything the church historically hated about theater. Let's be honest, even if it wasn't intentional, the Grand Guignol is a giant middle finger towards the church. For starters, the church condemned theater as a corrupting influence for its portrayal of immorality such as adultery, violence, and blasphemy. All mainstays of the Grand Guignol that gained its infamy in portraying the depths of human depravity. Even the Yu-Gi-Oh card agrees, as it prominently highlights the formerly pure saint Ecclesia, literally named Church by the way, corrupted into this woman provocatively dressed in red, the color of sin. The church also criticized theater's reliance on deception to mislead its audience into false belief. This too is an area of expertise for the Grand Guignol that championed many stage and lighting techniques to make its various acts of violence and debauchery as realistic as possible. Finally, the church regarded theater as enticing temptations that appeal to baser instincts, distracting believers from their religious obligations, which I'm pretty sure the Grand Guignol is guilty of. By evoking emotions of fear, disgust, and perverse pleasure through its performances, the Grand Guignol appealed to the raw, instinctual desires of human nature. Whether the theater distracted from anyone's religious obligations, well, I'm willing to bet attendees weren't concerned for spiritual salvation when stepping into the Grand Guignol. Then, did the Grand Guignol do anything to appease the church? Absolutely not. If anything, they kept pouring fuel on the fire. The Grand Guignol never specifically targeted the church as a subject of ridicule, but the theater just oozes with irreverence for the church, like how the theater was built inside an old chapel, with many of the original religious decorations kept intact. The theater did wonders in desecrating Christian imagery. Wooden angels suspended from the ceiling appeared to shed judgmental tears of blood, when in reality these were just leaks caused by poor maintenance. Iron-grated confessional booths, repurposed into private boxes, were frequented by aroused patrons seeking to indulge in bodily passions. Even the Yu-Gi-Oh card joins in on the fun. In line with the Grand Guignol's body horror theme, if you look closely at the dragon, you can see limbs of sacrificed corpses making up most of the body. What more, these limbs are clasped together in the form resembling prayer. And just in case this monster's church affiliation wasn't obvious enough, the Grand Guignol dragon proudly displays its stained glass wings, reminiscent of cathedrals. Sacrilege is the only word that comes to mind for this once sacred house of worship that now overflows with campy B-grade horror movie vibes. So what became of the Grand Guignol? While the Grand Guignol enjoyed decades of success, the theater would struggle to remain relevant in its final post-war years. According to the last director of the Grand Guignol, before the war, everyone believed that what happened on stage was purely imaginary. Now we know that these things, at worst, are possible. Whether these claims are true or not, the Grand Guignol had to contend with technological advances like film, societal changes post-World War II, and the theater's own financial struggles. Eventually, the theater would close its doors in 1962, bringing an end to its era of shocking and visceral performances. However, the legacy of the theater lives on in contemporary horror theater, film, and children's card games, continuing to challenge and unsettle audiences with unapologetic violence and unflinching explorations of the human psyche's darkest corners.